But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. This is the second, in a while, the second episode of the Nerdcast. This isn't really a the Nerdcast, for those of you guys who don't know, they don't really focus on or necessarily men's issues. That we usually just talk about stuff that we're into, hobby stuff, just sort of like interests. Sometimes, though, because we are red pill people, we might have something to say about something that is surprising, whether it's especially interesting or good in some way, and we want to talk about it. But I'm here with Mike J from the news show, and I'm here with Lindsay, the stapler, my wife, and we're going to be talking about a couple things. But one of the main ones is we're going to be talking about the Red Dead Redemption 2. So welcome to the show, everybody. And I guess we should probably start by talking about our credentials. I'll tell you guys a little bit about Red Dead Redemption 2 in case you don't know. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a current gen sort of video game by Rockstar. That's the company that brought you the Grand Theft Auto series. It is a sequel to it's actually a sequel to two previous games. One game called Red Dead Redemption and one that preceded it called Red Dead Revolver. That was, I believe that was released by Capcom. But anyway, it's basically an Old West open world game in the style of GTA. That's the simplest way to put it. And you guys might know that Red Dead Redemption 2 ran into some controversy because of its open world nature. There was a guy who, had his character in Red Dead Redemption essentially attack a suffragette, because in the largest town, Saint Denis, which is actually where I am in the game right now, there is a woman that is calling for the vote, and you can do whatever you want with people. So he basically killed her in various ways or beat her up.
By the way, his name is Scirocco on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
Yes, Scirocco. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Red Dead because there was some other things that we, despite what the mainstream media is saying about this game, and because of what Scirocco did. Scirocco, that's right. Because of what he did in the game, your normal usual suspect NPC journalists are claiming that Red Dead is a terrible, problematic game for alt-righter Pepe loving Trump supporters and stuff. So, but we're gonna maybe delve a little bit deeper and try to look at it a little bit more objectively, or maybe even make a counter argument for the opposite. So, first, I just want to say I haven't played much of the game. So I bought it. I was very excited for it, and I was playing it for a bit, but I felt like, honestly, I was worried that if I played too much, I wouldn't hang with my wife very much. So I actually kind of tried to restrict myself. I'm serious. That's what I did. I'm serious. So I was like, we should play. I wanted to focus on playing games together, and I knew that Red Dead had an online, and I tried to play it right away because I was like, oh, maybe we can play online together or whatever. But I think I'm about 25 or 29% into the game. And then my wife started playing it on her console because we're sharing games with each other on PS4, because you can do that pretty easily. She started playing Red Dead, and now she's way past me. She's halfway through the game, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty obsessed.
Yeah, she's playing the crap out of it. Now, actually, this is not related to the main thing, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I don't know what you did, Mike J. I know that you're basically at the end of the game, right?
Pretty much. I'm in the second epilogue, and then I paused there to kind of finish up all the other stuff because I'm going for that 100%.
Yeah. So the 100% game completion, is that like a platinum trophy / all the achievements or whatever?
I think it's the platinum trophy, but it's actually not it's not every trophy. Yeah. Because there's actually a few other trophies that you don't actually need to get 100%. They have a really lenient 100%, if that makes any sense. I don't know. If you've seen after a mission, it'll give you a medal, and it's either bronze, silver, or gold. And you can look at all the little optional objectives that you did or didn't do during the mission. there's a trophy or achievement to get gold medal in every mission, but that's not required for 100%, because if that was, I would never get 100%. 100% just wants you to like experience most of the game. It's not like find all the weapons. It's find most of the weapons. It's not, catalog every animal, just catalog most of the animals. But you still do have to like do every side quest, do every main quest, kill most of the legendary animals, and the worst of all, do every single challenge in the game, which some of them are a lot worse than others. Some just absorb your time. Others are just like, you could sit there for hours playing blackjack and never get, I believe, the Gambler 8 out of 10 challenge, because it's just that much of a pain in the ass to get, and it's total luck.
Mm-hmm. You just have to play a lot of blackjack, basically, and like bet the farm, just constantly,
Actually, it's you're gonna run out of money if you do that.
No, I mean not bet the farm,
table.
But yeah, like I guess constantly bet. Like you're just gonna lose some money, but I guess if you just go with the minimum amount, but you'll have to have
2 cents every time, and you gotta. Yeah. The thing about the challenge that sucks is it's winning a hand of blackjack after you get your cards, and you get 3 more cards, and then you still gotta win. So if you know anything about blackjack, that's really, really hard to do. You're either going to come up super short and not be able to beat the dealer, or you're going to have too high a number and you're just going to bust out before you even get to that 3rd card.
Yeah, you're actually more likely to bust out
exactly
on 3 cards. So
you're just going to have to sit there and not really lose a lot of money, but lose a good chunk of money. But it's only like 2 cents per hand, and I think at that point in the game, I had like a smooth 3K. So
yeah,
it didn't take me more than, I'd say, maybe $100.
Yeah. So like when I played the game, it was the main thing that I was interested in doing was getting better horses, getting better guns, like just the normal cowboy stuff. And as soon as like I was able to go and collect bounties, do missions, like go and like, shake people down for the money they owe, and other kind of like, I don't know, like the more cowboy stuff, like whatever was going to involve like a gunfight, I was like going to do. Like I was like, dueling with people. That was the stuff I wanted to do. So that was the stuff I was generally drawn to. And the stuff I generally ignored unless I had to do it, or I was kind of like, well, I guess I'm here and it's already happening, would be like hunting something, so if I happen to be near a bear, I try to kill it, but it wasn't like something that I went out of my way to do. I didn't want to do any of those things. But when Lindsay started playing it, that was actually most of what she did, was hunt animals, get their skins, like it was all, and camping and all of the.
Even though I'm only 50% into the game, I think I've spent most of it hunting. So
yeah,
you gotta get that legendary satchel.
Yeah, she was like trying to get a badger, like a high quality.
That literally took days.
Yeah, for like 3 days to try to get like I think it's like a perfect badger pelt.
Yeah.
So that
you got to know where to look for those bastards.
Yeah, that was like, and no, this is not a pun on the channel. This is literally in the game. There's a badger pelt that you need to get a satchel that she wanted to make, and it was just really hard for her. Whenever she couldn't find badgers most of the time, and when she did, their quality wasn't high enough. So it was just really, really difficult to find. Yeah. And personally, I guess I could have the patience for that, but that would not even be something that would strike me as a priority. I wouldn't think that anyway. I mean, now that I know that all of those things are not simply diversions, but they actually lead to something, like the hunting gets you the legendary satchel, which benefits you in the game mechanics, then I'm more inclined to be like, well, I guess that's worth doing now. Because I didn't really think, I was like, well, if maybe that's sort of like, hey, if you like fishing, then you can do it.
And I love the treasure maps. Like,
the treasure maps are so much fun.
So much satisfaction to solve it. Like, I love that.
Yeah. So like, but I observed that, we just sort of like we just had different play styles in the game, and I thought that was really interesting, because I think I've killed a lot of people in that game. Let's put it that way. But I think you've killed more because you've been playing longer. But
I don't go out of my way as much. I just kill animals.
She was wondering, actually, weren't you asking me if it's possible to like kill enough animals that they're not even there anymore?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You could, like...
I was wondering if you could overhunt areas.
They respawn, like, every time you leave an area, it sort of, like, re-rolls what is in that area. So, no, you can't do that thing you could do in Red Dead 2 where the first Red Dead Redemption, where you could, like, literally hunt down the last of the buffalo and make them extinct. There was even a trophy for it.
Yes.
There's a trophy for it named Manifest Destiny.
That's pretty funny. So like so on Red Dead Redemption, so there was all this press, right? And Lindsay has been playing a lot of it, and she was thinking, because I was asking her what she thought about the story and stuff, and she was like saying, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were basically saying, I think there are some kind of like she enjoys it, but there are some things that kind of like, niggle at her a bit on the way that niggle. Like, it's irritating, like, or not even irritating. It's too strong of a word.
No, it's not irritating. I just feel like maybe I'm being propagandized too a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like such an open world, and it feels like you can do whatever you want. But then, like, you kill the KKK, and it's like you get plus
You don't have to kill them.
It's not. It's like the game is leading you to think a certain way, which I think most people think. Like, most people don't like the KKK or racist or anything, but it feels like a bit.
Like they're kind of railroading you a bit.
Yeah,
they're telling you at least.
It's not as open world.
It's like they're telling you what you should feel about certain things by the way they present some of the characters. Like they're sometimes the characters feel really like flat.
Like sometimes
compared to...
I'm LARPing as Antifa.
Yeah.
It's okay to punch Nazis, guys.
Well, the characters, I mean, you could actually make a case for most of the characters in the game, like in the gang, to be straight up anarchists. That wouldn't be terribly far out of their characters.
Like the people in your gang, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're living out off the grid. They don't want anything to do with society until they need money, of course.
Mm-hmm. And then they're happy to go in and trade.
You could say that. I mean, even the main character Arthur, when you do talk to that suffragette character, talks about like, oh yeah, women should be allowed to vote. I mean, if you're stupid enough to vote, yeah, sure, why not? Have fun.
Yeah.
But he clearly isn't a fan of the quote unquote system.
Yeah, I saw an article. I didn't put it up because it's really bad, but it was something about how this is I think it's funny. So a lot of mainstream journalists have made the case, or they believe that mainly because of the suffragette bit, that RDR2 is like some alt-right, anti-feminist, like problematic game that should probably not exist. Obviously these people didn't play it.
Were they making the alt-right argument? Because I just saw they're anti-woman, anti-feminist.
Yeah, that's a lot of them will, but it's all like the same shit, right? It just gets lumped in. So I got that working. So if you guys send me a super chat, yeah, the it'll be read out. So thank you, French Honey Badger, for the €2. So please don't abuse it, because it'll be hard for us to talk while that's playing. No, actually, do what you want. But
is that reverse psychology?
What was I?
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe. What was I saying?
Journalists, media outlets,
yeah.
making alt-right argument.
Yeah, they just lump everything together. But what's funny is that I also saw someone write a thing about it, saying that it was libertarian propaganda. So,
I think that's the beauty of Rockstar games in general, is you can sort of read what you want to read into them. Because at the end of the day, the whole thing is sort of set up as a grand kind of satire.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the game, every character in the game is what their character is taken to the most extreme character aspects of them. You're not going to find a reasonable suffragette. She's going to be sitting there screaming at people on the street corner, frothing at the mouth. demonizing men. You know, you're not going to find just a Frenchman. He's going to be French as fuck. He's going to have the Eiffel Tower coming out of his ass, basically. Everyone is just chomping on an onion, wearing a beret, riding a fixed gear bicycle.
Yeah, there is. I mean, that's what GTA was for sure. But there are some little things that I noticed that I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's just like an observation. Like, you know, you're talking about the suffragette. So like when I first went into Saint Denis, so what happened is I didn't intend to go there, but I did this one. I was doing these quests or missions for this journalist that's trying to record. He's like writing something on this, famous gunslinger or former famous gunslinger, and he's one of the first people you meet in Valentine if you like explore, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I go to these various different people, and it was like there was one guy named Billy Midnight, and he was like a gunslinger on a train that's getting drunk, and when you go over there, it becomes like a chase, and you have to duel with him on top of the train. And by the time I was done with that bit, I was in Saint Denis, so I didn't even intend to go there.
Super chat coming in.
And then you run into a tree and lose your nice fox pelt off of the back of your horse.
Well, yeah, if you don't know how to
lose
ride.
Fox pelts. They're small pelts. They have to be a big pelt like a bison or a bear. That happens too. It happened to me.
So like the little ones that sit on the back of the horse don't fall off?
Those are safe, but if they're like an oversized one, or
you have to
they're
roll
one of the
up.
ones you...
Yeah,
or the one of the ones that you gotta like store on the satchel bags, like a corpse. Mm-hmm. They can fall off too.
Yeah. Okay, well there you go. But yeah, so I got into the town. Didn't intend to, but I ended up in Saint Denis, and so I walked up, and one of the first people I ran into that was like a street crier. There was all these people like on the corners, like all kind of advocating for things, right? And one of the first ones I ran into was this like white nationalist guy. And I don't know if I would guess that they were satirizing like the alt-right or something, if they were taking anything from modern times. But I'm sure that people like this existed back then. Probably.
Well, yeah, he's not technically a white nationalist. He's more closer to a
eugenicist.
Eugeneticist. I think that's the word. It's basically talking just about, don't let our children become monkeys. Preserve the white race.
Yeah, that guy, right? And I talked with him, and even though like even though it's a game where you're supposed to have all these choices, I was driven to attack the guy. Like I was encouraged to do it, to punch him. And
I don't remember the game encouraging you to punch him. He's annoying if he's not. I mean, I think he's meant to be annoying, yeah, sure, but no more annoying than the suffragette.
Well, I was. I think that my character was a lot more aggressive to that guy. I mean, he was like he made
you've got a choice of things to say. You can listen to him and then greet him, and then you've got two prompts. You can take the okay, whatever prompt, or the I'm going to be aggressive towards you prompt.
I can't remember what I did, but
probably pick the okay, I'm going to be aggressive towards you prompt.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant. But the point is, though, I did beat him up.
No, it isn't.
No, it is because...
So you're making the argument that it's...
No. It's not about what I chose to do. It's about how the game responded to it.
Okay.
So I did it, and there were two cops right there, and they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It didn't count as a crime.
Right.
So, and it's strange because technically it would be. And I'm not saying that it should be. I'm saying that there are small choices that were made by the studio people to say, well, in this case, let's like say it's not a crime. Because the cops were right there. And after I beat him up, he ran off, and I greeted. I may have even robbed the guy. I think I knocked him out and like took his money. And then, because I was doing that to everybody, I knocked out.
That's weird because that's one of the things I've noticed that like no matter what flags you as a crime in the city is looting somebody, even getting shot at by people and then killing them and then looting them, even though they were attempting to kill you, counts as a crime. Yeah. So that's weird because that's just what I wanted to add in.
No,
sometimes the game just acts weird, man. So I wouldn't shock you not getting a bounty or a crime up for knocking that guy out as normal game behavior. I've heard people did that to the suffragette too, and they didn't get any bounty or anything. it's a Rockstar game. Sometimes shit don't quite work as it's intended.
I
glitched out the game a bit.
Yeah.
Because I was using 2 horses a lot because I wanted to bring more, like, kills back.
Pelts and shit.
Yeah, and so, like, I would bring them into the stable and they'd have animals on them, and sometimes the animals wouldn't be left outside like they were supposed to be, and then they would be, like, in the stable and stuff. It was glitchy. Glitchy as hell.
Yeah, I remember I used there was between one mission in Rhodes where if I tried to take the stagecoach from Rhodes, the stagecoach animation would play for a second, freeze, then my character would be falling through the earth, and then I would end up just standing back on the ground. I think I got a video of that actually, if I can find it.
Oh, that's funny. Did when you do this, I've never used the stagecoaches or trains to get anywhere. Is it essentially fast travel?
Yeah.
Or
it's essentially fast travel that you got to pay for.
Yeah.
I only ended up using it because, it eventually, when going from Strawberry to Saint Denis for the 15th time just gets old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get there now. I got shit to do. Damn it.
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? But anyway, that was my experience. So I thought it was strange, but it may, like you said, it might have just been a glitch. I don't want to try to this is the reason why I'm bringing this up. There are people who have tried to make the argument online that RDR2 is anti-feminist propaganda, obviously, or anti-SJW propaganda. But there are also people who have tried to make the opposite argument, that it is SJW propaganda. And I don't think either of those things is true. And I think it's important because, you don't want to turn into the thing that you hate. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that. I think that what Rockstar does is they are good for the most part at not necessarily planting dying on a hill for some idea, where they're more interested in giving people the best experience that they can. But I also think it's important to note that their beliefs or politics about certain things are probably going to be a little they're probably going to be a little bit in that camp, just because it's the nature of the general populace and how they get educated and what they believe. I think that that's generally how it's going to shake out. So when you're in that town, and I remember talking to that eugenicist, that white nationalist, whatever, that guy, and my character Arthur was basically explaining how he's got friends that are black and Mexican and Native American, and he doesn't have a problem with them, and we're all the same, we're all just people, blah blah blah. And so he comes across as obviously nobler than this guy. Even like Lindsay was saying, that in some ways that group of people are more sort of morally noble than the towns, because the towns themselves are pretty segregated. There's a Chinese area and stuff like that in the big towns like Saint Denis, where there's a lot of Chinese people. And it struck me as, yeah, they were doing that, but I was also yeah, but you're also the main character, so they're not going for realism, although the world feels alive, but the people are a little bit stereotyped, the animals and the environment, and the all the aspects dealing with nature and the environment feel real, like a real place that you could see. It's very natural, right? But the people themselves are kind of they're
all caricatures.
Yeah, they're caricatures, right? So Bull says Rockstar tries to offend everyone. Yeah, I think so.
Mean, when you think about it,
yeah,
though,
that's fair.
Say you want to make a game where you can do whatever you want, and kind of like GTA, for example, you can steal cars, you can kill people, you can loot, you can see what it feels like to be a criminal. I think that's the point of Rockstar games. So,
yeah.
Maybe people have to be caricatures so you can feel good about killing them. You're justified, right?
Mm-hmm.
To steal from them or whatever.
It's I wouldn't say it's a completely zero consequence environment, but in terms of compared to real life, it certainly is, because you can just I want to see, I remember when I used to play GTA 3, so this is back when GTA first started to go sort of 3D. My whole thing was just like trying to get maximum number of stars, so I can get like the FBI and the army and everything. So I would just like go do crazy shit, right? I used to do that too. I wasn't. I don't even know if that game had a story.
It did somewhere.
So, but like with this, I actually worry about getting a bounty. Like it's weird. Like I'm
getting
like
a bounty in this game sucks.
Yeah, because it costs a lot of money to fix,
especially in the beginning of the game when you have like no cash.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just see how much money my pelts fetch me at the market. Oh, $10. Well, that's gonna go great towards that $300 bounty I accrued.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess what I wanted to say is there might be some things that if you guys are playing Red Dead, and I've seen people say this, that you might think that there's some SJW stuff going on, but I don't think it's like them trying to like push anything. I think they just, they like, for example, I didn't do it, but what's the mission where you actually have to help a suffragette? What's that about?
Oh, Mike.
You want to go ahead, Lindsay? Or right?
No, go ahead.
Okay. You're basically trying to fleece two rival families out of the fortune of gold that they supposedly have. It's sort of like a Hatfields and McCoys sort of situation. Like they've been killing each other for generations, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop soon. So you're sort of kind of playing both families off of each other, and a daughter in one of the families and a son in one of the families are starting this like Romeo and Juliet sort of thing.
Super chat.
He
Grand Theft Equestria.
Okay, go ahead.
He asked, she's like, oh no, she's gonna go to that suffragette rally tonight. I want to make sure you got to make sure she doesn't get hurt. So you end up having to tag along with them and ride the wagon through the town. By the way, the town totally hates the suffragettes, and just make sure it gets there safely. You don't even have to kill anybody. You don't have to do anything. You just basically ride the wagon for like 2 minutes, and then get off the wagon, and then that's that. That is the end of it. It is like 2 minutes in a 10-minute long mission, and it is never brought up again in the game.
Yeah, and your character doesn't take a stance on it.
Oh, yeah. He's just like, whatever. I really just want to get in with the good graces of these two families so we can find out which one has the Civil War gold and rob them blind.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's ultimately... And there's no, there are no quests where you're specifically asked to go and, like, do, like, clearly, like, weird SJW-y shit either. Right.
Yeah, so there's another mission that's like, it's called something like of women's suffrage and something, and you are taking one of the women that you rescued earlier in the game to town because she wants to be one of the guys and like shoot him up and stuff like that. And then things go well, and by the end, she's guarding the camp and stuff. So I guess like she changes her role.
She's one of the girls that was in the gang already?
Yeah. Well, she was the one you found at the very beginning of the game. She was the one that was about to get raped by the O'Driscolls.
Yeah.
That first cabin, Sadie Adler, that's her name. And she actually becomes one of the better characters in the game later on. No spoilers, but I'll make that clear.
Okay.
She has a really good character arc.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be the case since she's like, in there from early on. And they're pretty good about how they, so far anyway, from what I've seen, like how the characters sort of develop. Despite the fact that, yes, they are kind of, they're not archetypes. They're just stereotypes with the exception of your character, which is kind of like, whatever it is you decide to do.
Oh, your character kind of has a stereotype too. He's very sort of like the angry, emotionally stunted cowboy type. Mm-hmm. If you listen to a lot of the characters talk about Arthur, they always talk that he seems very sad all the time, that anger is sort of the only emotion that he seems to be able to get out. And I don't want to say toxically masculine, but
I was just going to say that. Is that toxic masculinity?
If you wanted to make the case, I'm sure you could.
Oh, I'm sure someone has. Someone in the chat just said that Louis Laveau made a criticism that the game didn't go far enough. That's Troy Davidson. He said that they kind of went halfway, but then toned it down instead of going full throttle.
In terms of what?
I don't know. I don't know what it means in terms of what. That's what I was wondering. Okay, so let me ask you guys this, and I know that Lindsay hasn't finished it yet, but if you guys had any criticisms about the game, not technical, like graphical or engine stuff, but more like story stuff, or at least like the world, building, that kind of thing, what would you say would be a criticism? Because I know it's probably going to be like, it should have been Game of the Year. It was in every other area that it was nominated, but it didn't actually get it. So we know that from a technical aspect, it's good, but with minus some glitches that you guys mentioned. But like, if you had a criticism about the story or characters or anything like that, what would you say? I'll let Mike J go first, so Lindsay can think about it.
The one thing that I would have off the top of my head would be, you don't really have actual choice in the game. You have the illusion of choice. You can sort of voice your opinion in some things. You can respond negatively or positively. There are a few choices where it's like, okay, kill this guy or don't kill this guy. Something might happen down the road. Spoilers, it never fucking happens down the road. Like, it's like a little short-term good honor, bad honor thing, but there's really nothing that you can do to really shape the story. It's very clearly going along one track, and you have little side choices you can make that really affect nothing. But ultimately, you're kind of going towards the same ending. It just ends up maybe being a tiny bit differently, more actually based on your honor. So more or less how high or how low your honor is. But even then, that doesn't really change much. Like, if I have one thing really nice to say about Rockstar in terms of that, I was expecting it was going to be more like Grand Theft Auto 5. Spoilers for Grand Theft Auto 5 here if you haven't played it yet. Even though what was it, like 7 years ago it came out?
That long ago?
7 years ago.
Is GTA 5 that
not
old?
Quite.
Oh my god. Well, RDR1 is pretty old. That's like 9 years old now.
GTA 5 is Nico, right? Or is that?
No, that's 4.
That was the 3. I wasn't far away. 2013, September 17th, 2013.
That's the one with Trevor and the
Trevor and Michael and Franklin.
Yeah. I didn't play that one all the way through, but
it was a good one. Oh, okay. I'm gonna spoil it, Lindsay.
Okay.
Maybe cover yours for a second. At the end of that game, you actually get to choose who dies and who lives. You as Franklin, you get the choice to either kill Michael, kill Trevor, or the best ending in the game, which is team up with Michael and Trevor to kill everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting maybe something like that in Red Dead 2, but no. It basically you're gonna get the ending you're gonna get, and I definitely will not spoil that.
Oh, okay. So there's you're saying that there isn't as much freedom of choice, and so like, does that honor system, does it actually affect gameplay at all?
Very minorly, very minor. Incoming.
No, it's not. It's just
Streamlabs.
Yeah, it is a sub or something. So sorry.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and in Red Dead 2, the honor system dictates, first off, having high honor, I think that unlocks 1 or 2 different outfits, and you also get massive discounts at every store. Like, I've noticed that really high honor, you get basically 50% off everywhere you go, which is really handy for buying horses. I forget what benefits the low honor. Oh yeah, the other thing too is when you loot, you tend to find more healing items and stuff like that as high honor, and as low honor though, when you loot, you tend to find more sellables, more like gold watches and belt buckles and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, sure. Rings, bracelets.
So it sort of balances out. Like, if you're high honor, all the shops like you and they charge you less for stuff. And if you're low honor though, you're rolling in all the loot that you've been taking from dead bodies, so it sort of evens itself out. And I think some of the characters respond to you differently. I know one or two cutscenes change very slightly based on high honor or low honor. But that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So it's no Fable. Did you guys play Fable?
Oh, dude, I
Any
played
of
all
them?
3 Fable games.
Yeah, those are great.
I never played Fable.
Great maybe isn't the word I would use, but I'm sorry. I've got some very unresolved issues around Peter Molyneux, the King of Lies.
Fair enough. So, what are your criticisms of the game so far in terms of like story and stuff? Not like the technical issues, or if you have any.
Well, one of my criticisms was going to be like that the NPCs aren't very realistic, but I kind of take that back because I think they have to be caricatures to like.
Yeah, go ahead.
To really feel justified in killing them or looting or whatever.
I suppose, but then like I guess when you do contrast it against like how real the world felt, the people don't seem to fit quite in.
Yeah.
In a way, so.
I think
some of them, like Micah, is just
Jay's...
like asshole all the time, like, you know.
Yeah.
I think never gonna change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Mike J's criticism kind of is like the deeper thing that I was thinking, but like I haven't gotten to that thought exactly. Just...
There was something that somebody said that I was thinking about too, but then this is the thing that Louis Laveau says. So basically, Louis Laveau's complaint was that the setting wasn't it didn't feel real enough because there was other things that never got addressed, like the fact that all the suffragettes were middle class white women,
and where's the segregationists
and segregation as an idea was so common that no one even thought of it as
weird.
Yeah, they didn't think it was weird. They probably thought it was weird that there was race mixing. So the fact that there was a guy complaining about race mixing seems strange, since it was probably mainstream belief that, you know, it's like I think about this. I don't know if Louis said this, but in World War II, this is a factoid that it blew my mind to think about. The people who fought against the Nazis were segregationists. Like they believed that the races were better separate, but they didn't want them genocided, and they fought against the Nazis to protect them, which is strange, right? And that's in the 1940s. So in the 1890s, or whenever this game takes place, I think it's like the 1890s or 1880s, it's like late 1800s, you would think that that was probably a really like normal mainstream belief for people. But basically what I guess Louis is saying is that doesn't seem to appear. You know, there's the suffragettes, the fact that suffragettes were racist, that there was still racism in the South, probably everywhere on some level, because like just because you didn't want them to be slaves doesn't mean that you saw them as equals per se back then.
I think you could lose the game in realism, though. I don't think it's important to be realistic as much as making a fun game.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not sure that that's Rockstar's responsibility, because they're not making that claim that their game is supposed to be realistic, right?
But they have a great like hunting simulator, so
yeah, somewhat. Although, you know, I've never seen anyone skin an animal that fast, so I don't know. Do you know what I mean, Mike? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, when you talk about like, oh, well, you didn't portray the suffragettes as this or that, it's kind of hard to portray them as anything when they're literally in the game for 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's
you
what I'm
don't
saying.
have time to get into the nuance and the minutia of the subject when they're there for all of 2 minutes.
Yep.
They try to get into certain things, like they you know, there's a little bit of this discussion of racism between Lenny and Arthur during a mission or two, but it's never really put on the focus, and I actually like that. I like that it's not the focus. I like that, you know, your character doesn't have to sit there and listen to like a 15-minute lecture on race and racism.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be something that, you know, the progressives would put in their game, and that's a game I would not want to play.
No, I agree. They'd make it the whole plot of the game. Well, that's what I'm saying.
They put some subtle things in. It's not just Lenny and Morgan. There's also the side quest I did recently that was like these 2 guys, and it's actually kind of funny. Like one's like Mr. White and one's Mr. Black, and like it's the opposite, black and white.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And they don't like each other.
Oh god, they're the funniest. Find them like 2 or 3 more times. It's always great when you do.
Oh, okay.
That's funny.
I just found them. It is pretty funny.
Yeah, like well, they're walking. You know, it's like I wouldn't say it's necessarily tightrope, but you know, you want to give, because here's the thing. I don't think that Rockstar was going for historical accuracy. I think Rockstar was going for spaghetti western / like Western film. That's more of it's romanticized. Oh, yeah. It's a romanticized, and it's like highly sort of exaggerated, you know, of look at that. In the same way that GTA is like, it takes like the whole gang, you know, organized crime kind of movie like Scarface and just like takes it all the way up to 11, right? They just go crazy with it. And that's all it was. In fact, I think that a lot of people have had the criticism that Rockstar has gotten too soft on that. And that's why the Saints Row franchise was, for a while, for many people, more popular than GTA, because GTA 4...
because GTA 4 was... It was technically good, but it did so many things. Like, they tried to get a lot more realistic than San Andreas was, and that worked in some aspects, and that didn't work in other aspects. Like, yeah, the shooting got a lot better. They added like a really decent cover system, but they tried to make the driving so realistic, and all of the cars controlled like drunk shopping carts. It was such a pain.
The only one that I passed.
Actually. GTA 4?
Yeah.
Man, I have that. I never finished it. You know why? Because every time I got in a car to go somewhere, my fucking phone would ring and it'd be like my cousin. Hey, cousin!
Nico, my cousin, let's go bowling.
Yeah, let's go look at some American titties. You know, it was just...
The problem was a lot of the stereotypes were still treated as awkward, a faux pas when really it was commonplace, and it was jarring given the setting.
A lot of stereotypes were still treated as awkward, a faux pas when it was commonplace. Yeah, you're right. They treated it like it was unusual, and it's true. But again, I don't think that Rockstar. There's a couple things here to say. Okay, one, I don't think they were going for realism. Two, I don't think that they necessarily dug that much into the history of the Old West. So you have to like give them a bit of a pass. Like, think of it like this, you know. How much of... Sorry if the chat disappeared. There we go. How much of the education that people get these days from university, especially dealing with things like history and civics and the humanities and stuff, is going to be accurate or fair? How much of it? And then how many people who work at various video game development companies that needed, most likely, to get degrees took classes there and believe most of what they hear, even if they think it's a little bit over the top. And then some of those people got to work at Rockstar, maybe the best of them, you know, or at least the people willing to work the most hours. Holy shit. So like, some of that is going to be in there. They're probably well aware of the social climate. They have been, because you can look at the older GTA games. They have a lot of, like, when you're in the car and you listen to the radio, and they have, like, the talk shows on the radio, they make a lot of jokes at the expense of feminists and stuff, right? Yeah. So they don't have a problem poking fun of that stuff. But I think that on some level, like most people who criticize feminism and social justice warriors, a lot of people, if not most of them, still believe that some of that stuff is true. So they will... they'll still sort of like, you know, go in with that mindset, if that makes any sense, right? So they'll still have some of that. It doesn't mean that they're going to preach at you. Like I was just going to say, it's like you have to walk a delicate line. So first we have to understand that Rockstar doesn't have an obligation to be accurate. And they also didn't claim to be. So this isn't like a Battlefield 5 situation where the Battlefield franchise is known for historical accuracy. And they just like, you know, just throw that to the wind and say, fuck it, we're not going to do that. And then when people say, why isn't this historically accurate? They say, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. This isn't that situation, right? This is Rockstar basically saying, you know, this is what we want to do. We're just making, we watch a lot of like spaghetti westerns and shit, and we just want to make that into a game. So it doesn't, I don't think that they owe anybody anything in terms of that. But on top of that, though, if they want people to feel like they're in the Old West without let's say, without going too far in any direction, like feel like people are being preached at, but at the same time they can't pretend like, there are no differences between like the genders or the sexes, then they have to walk a line, right? So that's why you're going to get, I think the way they handled it, there's no super chat coming. The way they handled it was pretty good because on the one hand, they didn't pretend like, a black man in the 1800s wasn't going to have a different life experience on average than a white man would. But they didn't also do the whole, like, white privilege speech either. They didn't engage in any of that. They just it's like a little comment here, a little short conversation there, a little tiny encounter, but nothing else. It doesn't impact gameplay. It doesn't bog things down. That's it. And I think that's the best you can do. And of course, you're still going to piss people off. So, what's the point?
Yeah, no one's ever going to be 100% happy with everything. But like I said, I think people saying like, oh, well, it should have done this differently or it should have done that differently. It's almost like I said, I think that says more about the person saying it than it does about the game itself.
Mm-hmm. Black Knight Fool says a little bit of a broad brush there, Brian, especially when you talk about the North. I don't know what I said that was a broad brush. I'm saying is that I don't know what you're referring to, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think I was pretty fair.
What I will say is that I'm completely obsessed with this game, so I think they did a lot right.
Yeah, she is. I bought Vermintide 2 so that we can play it together, and she literally doesn't have an interest, and I'm playing it by myself now. So, and she doesn't. I don't think she wants to do the online. Do you want to do Red Dead Online?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe once
like,
I pass
we can probably do that, but I don't know.
I've heard they've kind of sort of got that into a good place. It's not as fucked as it used to be in terms of the in-game economy.
Is that what the problem was?
That was the problem, yeah. It was like, how easy it is to make money in the single player. It's like everything costs 3 times as much and you make 1/3 of the money, unfortunately.
Oh, I guess that wasn't my issue with it. I didn't know about that. My only issue was I was worried that if I win in the game, it seemed like it was a free for all, like literally the Wild West.
It is.
Yeah, the people are just like trolling each other and like fucking each other up for whatever reason. But I think they balance it pretty good because the game's not especially like skill oriented, so it's not like one person who's totally awesome is gonna just dominate. And like, well, at least when I was in there, some guy killed me. I got Vermintide 2, not 1, on PS4. So that's for Kenspiracy, who was asking. What was I saying? Oh yeah, right. So I was
some guy killed you.
Yeah. The first time I went on there, I was like in a town, and I was looking. It was after once I was able to play, which is kind of annoying, right? That they do that. They give you a story mode for the online, and they have you do all this shit. But once I went to a town, I don't remember which one it was, and some dude just randomly killed me. Like, I was looking at another player, and he was just like, bang. And then when I respawned, I could see where he was on the map, so I went and killed him. And so it's sort of like they kind of balance it out. Like, I guess you can just go get revenge on people if they, like, fuck with you. But I don't know how trolly it gets, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any online game. You gotta assume the worst out of everyone else playing around you.
Yeah, sure,
but if you find a decent group to roll with, it's not that bad. And I was like joking, like we should do that. We should have like the Honey Badger gang, because I know quite a few people on our Discord on the PS4.
Yeah,
and we could roll around and have a little posse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. That'd be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, our RDR2, I don't think it's propaganda. I think it's satire. I think that, this is the thing. I think that just because people do have some beliefs, like I bet if you ask the people at Rockstar, are you feminists or anti-feminist? The majority of them say that they're feminists. They're just not crazy, progressive feminists. That's what they would believe, and that's probably going to have some influence on their work, but that doesn't mean that what they're creating is propaganda. And it's important to try to enjoy things and not become the thing that you hate. So that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying about that. That's what I think anyway.
So I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So there's like a lot of social justice ideology in media. How do you determine if what you're watching or engaging is propaganda and what is just, trying to be a good game or a good TV show or a good movie?
I usually try to look at the people involved in it, see what they've done in the past. I don't like using Twitter as a barometer because I've learned one thing really quickly. If you want to be disappointed in anybody, just look on their Twitter feed. Mm-hmm. Twitter is not where people go to have rational conversations. But just try to look at what they've done in the past and try to look at if they're like a member of any think tank or a group or something like that, and see what they've done, what their resume is based.
Yeah, but do you think you can tell like in the media itself?
Like if you're watching a show or like playing a video game?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really subtle. Sometimes it's
Supergirl.
Really not subtle. yeah. That's actually, I'd say, the thing that we have going for us is most of the time, they're not subtle. They got all the subtlety of a sledgehammer hitting a watermelon. They don't try to hide their activism. They don't try to hide their ideology. It is very in your face, and you don't have to sit there and be like, what did they mean by that?
Yeah. I think there's a difference. Personally, I think there's a difference between getting propaganda and just getting media that the people who are creating it genuinely believe is good, but they just put their politics in it. I think there's a difference between those two things. Yeah. Like when somebody's making propaganda, they're basically setting out to change people's minds with their work, and they think that it makes their work more important because they're doing it. So like what's going on with Marvel Comics, what's going on with DC Comics, what's going on with certain television shows like Supergirl, which I joked about, which I don't watch, but you should see. There's like a Supergirl super feminist supercut that you can watch on YouTube that's like 3 parts. Some of the shit that's on there is unbelievably cringy. It's so bad. I don't know how that show is still on. But like sometimes it's like that, right? And sometimes it's just a show, and it might be good or bad because the writing is good or bad, or the acting is good or bad, but it might have some of those politics in there simply because the people who make them, they just believe that to be sort of like a normal sort of
default.
For them that's the default setting of society or how it should be. Yeah. They just believe that. They're just like, well, this is, like if there's a show and there's a black man on the show and he experiences racism and police, like, they say hands up and they threaten to shoot him and stuff, that is likely propaganda if they're trying to make a statement about it. But sometimes that same thing could just be the writer who's just like some San Francisco like white liberal that just believes that that's normal for black people. He just thinks that that's normal, and maybe that's to drive the plot forward in some way. So it's hard to tell, but I try to simply enjoy a product on its merit. If it's propagandized, it usually means a product itself isn't very good. Like if you like look at Annihilation.
Yeah,
that was a movie that we watched.
Bring it up.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so it's an all-female cast. It's they're all like with guns and they're going into the Shimmer, and all the men who've gone in there have died before them. But the story's so well done, I don't think it's propaganda.
Right.
Like I think, is it feminist? I don't think so. I think that feminists would not like the movie because, spoiler alert, nobody makes it. So like it doesn't have a Mary Sue in it, it's not like that. But that doesn't necessarily.
No, not Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That's
no.
Where my mind went to.
Oh no. I'm sorry. There's a movie that just came out like last year called Annihilation, based on a book that I can't remember the name of, with Natalie Portman. There's a few other actresses in it. The chick from the Mary the Virgin show, and like Tessa Thompson from Thor Ragnarok, and what's her name? Jennifer Jason Leigh. who's like this great actress, and it's in a bunch of shit like Hudsucker Proxy. Anyway, it's a sci-fi movie that's sort of like a science fiction horror. It's good if you haven't seen it. Annihilation's a good movie. The feminists don't like it. They probably won't give it praise because it's just a seriously good film, even though it's totally passes the Bechdel test, even though it's totally got a full cast of women in it, you know, like it's mostly women like cast, you know, but it doesn't try to make a statement about being a woman at any point. Right? It's just about the mission. It's about the plot, and that's why it's good.
And they're flawed too.
Yeah, they're all flawed. So it's not Star Wars. Let's put it that way. It's not modern Star Wars. It's not Supergirl. So for me, I guess it's just like, I don't know how, but if I see a trailer for a movie, I can tell right away if it's gonna be like bullshit SJW crap or not. I can't tell you how I know. I just know. So I
just get a feeling, you know.
Yeah, like, or sometimes it's like the new Men in Black. I don't know if you guys know that they're making a new Men in Black. That looks like it's gonna be SJW trash. Yeah, I showed you the trailer. I'm talking about the people watching. That's gonna be shit. Like that's is it gonna be SJW? Yeah, I think so. Like I think so. They give you the plot. Like, doesn't the woman, Tessa Thompson again, she like, finds the Men in Black headquarters and like gets in, because women's, I guess. And so they decide to make her an agent, and it's, I don't know. It's like, when you saw Ghostbusters, you knew. So sometimes you can just tell.
Yeah, sometimes. But I think if I saw like a trailer for Annihilation, I saw it was like 4 girls and one's like ex-military and one's a scientist, and I'd be like, ooh.
I remember actually, I mean, now that you described the plot of it, I do remember seeing the trailer for that movie and being moderately interested.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was trying to push anything. It was just like, well, they just happen to be women. That's I mean, that's pretty much it. It's not that they happen to be, it's that they've tried sending in men for a while and drones and vehicles and nothing works, so they're just like, let's try women now. Like they were out of options. So they acknowledge that. They're like, well, we're at our wits' end. What now? Well, let's send in women and see what happens. Like, that was basically where they were at. So they weren't even the first choice. So, and I would have, when I heard about, this is what I did. When I heard about Annihilation, I said, I think I'm gonna, this sounds like, like it kind of set off my, like, radar, like, it's all women and they're, they're like all scientists and badasses. But then I looked into it more and I learned more about the plot, and I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe this is okay. And then I waited till the reviews came out, and even then, because you'll get movies, like, I don't know, Get Out, that get like 100%, or Black Panther that had 100% until some Irish guy like decided to downvote it, where you can't trust the reviewers either. So you have to like even look at what they're saying. So if they say it's an exercise in empowerment and girls everywhere are going to have new role models in the form of blah, 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 then okay, this is something I don't really want to see. But, sometimes they do that too to stuff that's like totally not like that. I've noticed they do that too. Mm-hmm. Whereas in like each movie sort of falls into 2 categories. Either like, no, this is misogynist, this is sexist, this is bigoted, and we need to protest this, or oh no, this is a feminist masterpiece made by feminists for feminists by feminists, and it happens to be called Mad Max Fury Road.
And sometimes it's the same movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
they'll do that. They'll either try to praise it as being something it isn't, or tear it down because it's something it isn't, just so they can make it fit into their ideological framework, even though it might really not be in there. So you can't really always go. You can't always like look at what the critics say and just do the opposite. Yeah,
you can't know for sure where they sit on that. So that's true. So. I want to go on to the other thing real quick. Well, it's been an hour, but I should touch on this anyways before we wrap up. So have you guys heard about this game that's coming out for the PC called The Last Night? It was it had a great trailer. Do you know, Mike? Have you heard about this? game?
Yeah, I know exactly what we're going to talk about. I'm glad you reminded me of this because this is something I haven't looked back into for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember the controversy it stirred up and the sort of mealy-mouthed apology the creator was forced to issue, and really the whole thing just kind of boiling my piss.
Oh, it's painful. So like it's been revealed like as of like yesterday. No, today this happened. So the Cyberpunk game has run into a bit of financial trouble. So Tim Soray, he's like the lead dev guy, right? The creator. He made a tweet on December 31st. He said, 2018, the rise and fall. So this was on New Year's Eve. He says, we doubled the team. We got ourselves a proper lovely studio in the core of London. The game budget finally got a massive raise. We found and developed the code architecture that the game needed. We developed even more gorgeous hybrid 3D pixel art techniques. I'll show you guys a little bit of the trailer so you can see what the game looks like. It's actually pretty cool. Then we encountered massive business, legal, and funding issues that we can't talk about. We had to cancel a new trailer for the last night at the Game Awards. We're currently trying to raise funds, so get in touch. hello@oddtales.net. That's his address. So, or that's the email address for his company, Oddtales. So, like, the timing of it is interesting. He's lost money. People have pulled out of the project. And so this is a little bit of the trailer. I'm playing it in like half speed so you guys can see we shouldn't get a copyright strike for this, but I don't expect that would happen. But so what happened? Maybe Mike, you could tell people about what happened to him. I think he ran into controversy. Was it in 2014 or 2015? It was like
2014 sounds about right.
Yeah, 2014 because it was right when Gamergate was starting. Yeah.
Well, it was a little bit after that, I think. Hold on, let me check when the first. I think we can go by the first E3 trailer of this. Yeah. Like, does it say when is that the like E3 trailer you're showing right now?
Yeah, this is the E3 trailer that's showing right now.
Does it have a date on it?
Go down a bit.
2017. This is actually new.
Okay. I really must have got my dates fucked up. I think I just mindlessly agreed with you there. Anyway, but yeah, it was E3. I'm gonna say 2017 because that sounds about right.
Yeah. And
they debuted this. It got lots of critical acclaim. It got lots of, oh man, this is really looking cool. This is winning lots of Best in Show awards, most anticipated, and stuff like that. Then the progressives, the anti-gamergators, the SJWs, the whatever you want to call them, started digging through this guy's Twitter history, and he had been critical of some social justice things. He proclaimed support for Gamergate, and most egregiously, he said, "I'm an egalitarian, not a feminist."
Yes.
So that kind of triggered the flood of hit pieces. I think it was Zoe Quinn and her crew who sort of really started sticking it to this guy because, of course, there can only be one on the indie scene.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, like I said, kind of forced to make this mealy-mouth apology saying that he supports feminism and Gamergate was a mistake and oh dear God, what else do I need to say? Please don't shut down my game.
Yeah, he was on Vice making here's the Vice article. Not only was he on Vice, sort of defending his position, but he even like got all choked up and like emotional according to Vice's description. And you can tell like there was some scary shit happening here. It's like it's not just a simple case of Vice is like bringing him on to talk to him. I think there was something far darker. Like they brought him on to first promote his game for a little bit, and then they got on the Gamergate thing and the feminist thing, and then he had to defend himself. He's like, I'm really glad. Like it was almost like they called him up or he contacted them, and he was like, I need my game to happen. And they were like, yeah, we can probably give you some good coverage if you like come on publicly and apologize for the shit that you said. And so they bring him on and they basically make an example of the guy because he has because he has like moderate opinions on like things like, games journalists shouldn't attack their audience, which is basically what he said in regards to Gamergate, and also that he's an egalitarian and not a feminist, which apparently is an unacceptable position. And even though he came out and apologized, it didn't change anything.
Never good enough. Never apologize.
Because apparently he's having trouble raising the funds and that he lost some backers. And unless he says we've encountered massive business, legal, and funding issues that we can't talk about.
Now that is the interesting point. That is, we don't know what is going on there unless we get more information, which if he's saying he can't talk about it right now, that seems very unlikely that we're going to get more info. We really don't know what's causing this. As far as I know, Quinn and her crew and the rest of the social justice types have kind of all forgotten about this. At least that's what it seems like to me. They've got bigger fish to fry, bigger cats to skin. And it just seems like that. I don't quite know if this is, I mean, I know a lot of people are ultimately jumping on this is the work of the progressives. They're at it again. But unless one of them comes out and goes, yeah, we're the one that bankrupted him. We're the ones that are causing legal troubles. I don't know if we can quite blame it on them.
Yeah,
yet.
It's hard to say. But like obviously we don't have any facts, but I mean, like, my opinion kind of leans that way. Like, somebody got to him, or somebody got to the people who were supporting him. That is often how people work. No, it doesn't seem to me that people like Zoe Quinn and the usual, because Zoe Quinn's the one that actually I think blew the whistle on this guy in the first place. She's the one who essentially started the mob against him, and she was heavily involved. Well, no, it was 2017, so she probably wasn't. She wasn't involved with Crash Override, but she was definitely instrumental to the attacks on to what happened to this guy, to the accusation, went into his past and dug up, because these are like really old tweets that he made about Gamergate, and that's what it is. These tweets about Gamergate and about feminism were years old. So even though he showed the trailer in 2017, the tweets were from like way before that, but right when Gamergate was starting. So that's as far back as they went into his past. Now, why? I don't know. I mean, it could be jealousy. It could be a number of things. Because I think, wasn't Zoe Quinn working on a game that she never finished? But it's hard to say.
She finished Depression Quest. I don't know.
I'm talking about No. She has like she had that dating simulator with that Chuck Tingle wrote, and she was supposed to be working with him. She didn't finish it. It had like live action footage. It was a dating simulator, just really crazy one, based on Chuck Tingle's work. The guy who does those, Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt.
Yeah.
Gay romance novels. Yeah. They're just weird. Weird books. Yeah, so supposedly she was the one who started it, so I don't know. And here's another thing, too. I didn't know this about the game itself, which might be interesting to know. I don't know if you know this. So it's a cyberpunk game that takes place in this dystopian future, but it has a twist. The twist is most cyberpunk settings are set like Deus Ex and the cyberpunk game that's coming out, and others that sort of, like Ghost in the Shell and stuff. They take place in a future where corporations are basically like they have all the power and they rule over city states with an iron fist. Like basically it's like this it's almost like a anti-capitalist dream, like this is mega corporations run amok and they have all the power and they're evil because they want to make money and shit. This is the normal plot for a cyberpunk story that I mean, I like Cyberpunk to death. This is what they normally do. This guy did it a different way. He basically said the progressives have won and everything is automated. So no one works jobs. Everyone just gets like a fixed wage and there's no need for any of that. Even the government is all done by robots. Then people vote and the robots just like act out on completely like democratic means. So it's basically the opposite, right? And because of this like automated future where no one has jobs because no one needs jobs. Everyone just gets money, you know, and it makes everyone bored. And when they become bored, then they start engaging in destructive behavior. And I guess that's what the plot of the story is. And I think that because it doesn't, well, it's believed that it's possible that people didn't like it because he wasn't doing the usual kind of, you know, anti-capitalist story that cyberpunk stories tend to revolve around. So I think that's something else that's worth pointing out. I don't know if it may not have anything to do with what happened, but it's something that I thought was really, it actually made me very interested in the game. That and the fact that it has this really interesting art style, but it's supposed to play like, I guess it's more of a narrative-driven type thing. It's not an action game or anything like that. So, did you have any thoughts on that?
I do like that they are kind of doing something a little bit different. They're moving away from the standard sort of cyberpunk cliche. I do like that it's basically a universe where the progressives have won, and looking at how much scarier of a dystopia that would be than just like, you know, oh look, the corporations have won. Okay, that's yeah, I'll take that. Oh, here we go, Superjet.
What's the point of having money at all if no one needs to produce anything since robots take care of everything? ! That's not how the economy works.
Why does it read exclamation mark?
Oh, because he put a question mark and an exclamation mark. Oh. So it reads out the question mark as though it's part of the sentence, but then there's an exclamation point, so it just says that.
Oh.
So if he added a bunch of exclamation marks at the end of that, that's not how the economy works, it probably would have read each one of them out.
Well,
perhaps.
It's a game. I don't think the creators are making an economy simulator.
Yeah, I don't know for sure that there's money in the game. I know that he said that everything is automated and nobody needs jobs. So I don't know. Maybe there is no money. Maybe there is, so people can trade, but there'd be no need to if everything's automated. So I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't read into it too much because I don't have all the info.
Well,
but
I hope the game does get made eventually. I'd love to play it.
I would too. I think that's why I was gonna say, you know, if you guys want to see this game get made, maybe go to his website or just follow him at Tim Saray. I have it on the screen there. And see what he's doing, and maybe like keep an eye on his Twitter to find out if any like additional information comes out. But this could possibly be a case where someone is basically like, you know, bullied out of getting their game made. But I don't know for sure. I just thought it was worth pointing out because this was a game that I was interested in. It did look kind of cool, even though I don't have an Xbox. It's only on Xbox and PC. But I was thinking about getting it on PC because it seemed kind of cool. I love Cyberpunk. I love that genre, and I don't think there's enough of it. Although I didn't really like Deus Ex very much, but I don't know. I tried both of them. I did the last two that came out. There was
most people widely agree the first one was the best one, even though it has very dated graphics. I still say give the original Deus Ex a shot.
Yeah, I didn't care for the last two that I played, which is basically the very last one. That one was
Mankind Divided.
That one was pretty like
Human Revolution.
It had some themes in it, and Human Revolution was even worse. I think that was made by Square, and
they're both made by Square.
Like
they had problems. I liked them because it was just more Deus Ex, and Deus Ex is a series I love to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really hoping they do something because they said they're considering making a third one, which I still haven't finished the second one. I really need to finish the second one. Or when I say second one, I mean Mankind Divided.
Oh, yeah, it was okay. I got pretty bored. But they did, I think Mankind Divided was better than the other one, Human Evolution, right? Is that the one?
Human Revolution, yeah.
Human Revolution, sorry. Because a Human Revolution had boss fights, and I love boss fights, but I hated the way they handled it because, see, if you and I know we gotta go soon, but if you basically like build your guy around stealth, which I did, and it's all about stealth, The boss fights, you couldn't use stealth in the boss fights. You had to fight them.
The good news is they did fix that. They fixed that in the game. I think it was the Game of the Year version or something like that.
Oh, okay.
They actually went back because the boss fights were actually farmed out to a completely different company. That's why they felt so
like
jarring.
some Japanese company, clearly, because like they were you go from like Western stealth game with like, you know, the PC feel to it, and then you get to a boss and it turns to Final Fantasy 17. So
it's the Human Revolution Director's Cut, which adds in all the DLC, and I think if you even own the DLC, you get a discounted price on the Director's Cut. And it actually makes those boss fights completely different, where if you have a stealth or hacker character, that's now viable.
Oh wow, that's way better. Yeah, because I was pretty good at the hacking too, and I was like, well, this is pointless, even though everyone I'm fighting is literally cyborgs. But yeah, well, that's good to know. I don't. It's good to know. I'm glad that they addressed it. I wish they'd done it in the first place though. But anyway, with that said, I hope you guys okay, so we're going to wrap up the show. This was the Nerdcast. I'm going to try and do a Nerdcast every Wednesday. We're not going to be necessarily talking about men's issues or anything like that. Just like the stuff that we're interested in. It might, it might go in that direction, but it's not something that is, I guess you could say, a focus. Also, if you like the new kind of like screen layout, I kind of like came up with this today. I was like working on trying to make this a bit nicer, a bit like slicker, and I'm going to continue to evolve this so that things are easier to read and shit.
I wish Mike J would put his gun away. It's been very intimidating this whole time.
Not loaded.
So yeah, if you guys like this, we're going to do another one next Wednesday. Probably around the same time. I don't want. Is this asking a lot? Do you want to come back next Wednesday, or do you want me to tell you what we're talking about before? I don't know.
If you're talking to me, then
talking to you.
I suppose I can. I mean, today was a lot more hectic than I expect next Wednesday to be.
Okay. Well, yeah. If I find something kind of fun to talk about, that's kind of like. Nerdy or whatever, I'll let you know what I'm thinking about, or if you have ideas, we could talk about it. So with that said, though, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks, guys, for coming on the channel. Give us a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and go to feedthebadger.com. You can see that scrolling, .com to support us. It's down there at the bottom. You see it scrolling. See that animation? I made that. And, yeah, be sure to do that. So give us a comment too. Tell us what you guys think about if you've played Red Dead, if you've played Deus Ex even, or if you have an interest in The Last Night, if you've been following the story. Tell us your thoughts. I'd love to see them. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks, guys, for coming on the Nerdcast, and we'll talk to you guys next time.